bowling. And that's where I found him.
I remember Henry coming back into the offices. He said, holy mackerel, the guy's bowling with his black dress shoes on.
He was there bowling alone. And we just started talking. He wanted to have an American intervention.
And of course, we didn't just have an empty cannon there. That's why we moved some fleet units over into that part of the Mediterranean. And that is why we alerted a couple of Marine battalions as well.
I thought it would have been very difficult to manage. We didn't have a commander. We didn't have the right combination of forces. We didn't know how to end it.
Mr. President, we said, we think the Israelis are in the best position to do this. They're close to the scene. The resources can be employed rapidly.
Once he understood that, he agreed to back the Israelis.
Hussein was quite aware of and approved of what we were doing in this thing, and if he didn't approve, he didn't let us know.
It was America's ambassador in Jordan who broke the news to King Hussein.
And what I was told to say to him is, we'll get the Israelis to come in and help you. And I think this is a very serious moment for the king.
We asked Rabin what the views of the Israeli government would be in these circumstances. And Rabin said he would report home and ask.
I got the authorization to send Phantoms to fly over these tanks. I briefed the leader of the formation myself. I told him, fly over them. Leave no doubt that they see you and hear you. Make mock attacks so that they understand what we want them to do, which is to turn around and go back. So our 4 aircraft performed maneuvers over these tanks. On the side, I had another 2 quartets waiting, just in case. But no one bothered them. The tanks turned around and went back. A quartet of Phantoms was enough.
Defense Minister Assad did not want to commit our Air Force. We were fighting an ally. The Jordanian army is our friend. We can't attack them using planes.
Whether it was because of Arab solidarity or the threat of Nixon's 6th Fleet and Israel's warplanes, Syria finally withdrew its tanks. The Jordanian army could now give all its attention to kicking out the Palestinians. Yasser Arafat, hiding somewhere in the capital, sent out an SOS.
I remember that he made the broadcasting through the station we had, asking the Arab world and the Islamic world to intervene.
The Arab world heard him. Its leaders gathered in Cairo for an emergency meeting, chaired by President Nasser. Nasser decided that the leaders should send a delegation to Jordan to ask King Hussein to stop killing Palestinians. At the head of this delegation was the president of Sudan.
We went to King Hussein. Of course, he offered us every kind of delicious dish.
They kept telling us that you have to stop things immediately. But we can't stop. I mean, we're in the middle of a life and death struggle.
Then we stayed for dinner, going through all the arguments.
I believe that that experience was one of my worst during that particular period of time. Because one is concerned, one is worried, one is trying to deal with problems changing every minute, and suddenly to have to entertain a group that is totally out of touch with reality or with the needs of the moment.
And we kept on talking and going through all the reasons until daybreak.
The Arab leaders, having failed to convince the king, got into an armored car and tuned in the radio.
We started to hear Arafat talking, and Arafat calling for help.
The leaders went to Arafat's hideout and provided him with a new identity, a family man complete with wife and child.
We passed off the child as Arafat's, so that the guards at the airport would not stop us. And we made Arafat change into Arabian dress.
Thus disguised, amid the delegation of Arab leaders, Arafat made it past King Hussein's soldiers guarding the airport.
And then suddenly I heard with utter shock and disbelief that they arrived in Cairo. They had Arafat with them.
Arafat had had a close shave in more ways than one. Back in Cairo, President Numeri reported on the conflict.
It was unfair to Jordan and to King Hussein.
King Hussein decided that he too had better join the meeting in Cairo.
I, of course, came in still in my fatigues and with my gun in position.
And he spoke in the conference and responded to the allegations. He said he was not against the Palestinians at all.
President Nasser imposed a deal which met most of King Hussein's demands. Arafat gave in. He agreed all his fighters would leave the capital. The PLO tried to regroup in the north of Jordan, and it took King Hussein another year to drive them out of the country altogether. The PLO's attempt to take over Jordan had failed.
But we did a very important thing. We create a new people, and instead of being refugees, to be fighters. This is very important. We were refugees, homeless. We became now fighters, freedom fighters. And next stage, you will see.
Arafat and his battered fighters moved to Lebanon, where they regrouped. Soon, Arafat would be strong enough to become a power broker in Lebanon and continue his attacks on Israelis.
The Olympic Games stand still. The flags in the stadium at half-mast. The citizens of Munich, the thousands of competitors and officials.
Palestinian guerrillas crowned a year of terrorist attacks by storming the Olympic Village.
This hastily conceived memorial ceremony.
11 Israeli athletes were killed as the world watched. Israel retaliated with a pinpoint operation. An Israeli commando force landed on a beach near Beirut. Their targets were PLO leaders, particularly those responsible for Munich. Arafat, who was working late at the PLO's busy headquarters, escaped. But the guerrillas who planned and carried out the Munich operation were killed. At the funerals, the Palestinians and their Muslim allies erupted in fury. To everyone's astonishment, this man turned up at the funeral. Pierre Jamal, Christian Maronite leader.